Out of the package, these ribs are looking pretty good. Flip them over and check the bottom side. They always slip this top piece in that they trim off. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's a dud. But this one looks pretty good. Lots of good meat in here. And for the bottom side, this is actually a pretty good rack of ribs here, straight out of the package. Going to just trim this up a little bit and clean it up and square this off. To trim this up, just going to use a nice sharp little fishing knife. This doesn't really even need to be trimmed. Just make it nice and even. Now, here you're going to want to feel for your bones. You actually feel where your bones go. And the meat gets pretty thin in here. You can see it thins out. So this whole end's going to cook a little bit quicker. So you find out where the bone is, you can feel it with your finger. And just go off to the side of it. Just trim it straight. For a binder to help the rub stick to the meat, I'm going to be using peanut oil. Just going to brush on a very light coating. Getting both sides and the edges. To season the ribs, I'll be using Weber's Kansas City Barbecue Rub. Available at most local grocery stores so everyone can find it, and it's great for barbecue. If you see a bottle, give it a try. To season the ribs, sprinkle some of the rub on, then just gently rub it around and press it in with your hand, making a nice even coating across the entire surface. I like to start on the bottom side of the ribs. I'll flip it over. These are looking like a nice rack of ribs already. And just give this side a good coating. And do first light coat, rub it in. So here's a peek after the first coating of rub seasoning put on. I'm gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes and then place another coating directly on top. Here's a quick drive-by of the rub on the ribs so you guys can check it out. This was just put on, so it still needs a bit of time, but the moisture from the meat will start getting it wet, and it will start looking more like that on the corner there. Once it gets all shiny like that, we'll go get them on the barbecue, get them cooking away. You get your barbecue set up, it's real easy. Place the charcoal on the outside edge in a C pattern, about 4 to 5 inches high, just underneath where the grate sits on the barbecue. To get the charcoal fired up, I'll be using one of the Weber lighter cubes. No fussing around with lighter fluid or charcoal chimneys. For an added smoky flavor, I placed apple wood chips on the top of the charcoal at the beginning of the burn. Smoke sticks best to your meat when it's cold and wet. So simply get this fired up. Place a couple pieces right above the hot fire. Just get it going a little quicker. Then simply place the cooking grate on. And this is a water bowl just from the dollar store. Stainless steel water bowl filled with about 3 cups of water. I'm gonna place that directly over the fire so it gets nice, boiling hot and steaming. Barbecue's all set. Place the lid on once the charcoal gets lit. I just got the ribs on. Gonna hit start on here. So we got a stopwatch. Temperature dropped quite a bit, but that's because the lid's off. Now I'm putting the trim piece on the outside here because the heat will actually cook more on the outside of your barbecue. And the rack of ribs is in the middle. Looking fantastic. Check that rub out. Once it heats up, turns into a nice barbecue, that's gonna be some delicious eats. And this piece is gonna cook a little quick. Had to get it over the coals a little bit, but that will be a chef's snack. So get the lid on, everything's ready to go. After 34 minutes, let's take a peek, see how the ribs are doing. Oh, these are looking good. Check that out. Nice drive-by. So these are looking spectacular. Cooking away. Temperature sitting just under 300 degrees. So get the lid back on. Let them keep cooking. I'll push the water bowl over a bit. You can see it's gone down about an inch. It was at that ring about an inch higher. And that's to add moisture to the cooking environment. Keep your food nice and juicy. After 1 hour and 7 minutes, let's take a peek. Everything's looking good. Get nice and close so everyone can check the ribs out. You can see that rub's cooking nice, caramelizing. And smells even better. Got that apple wood smoking away. Twisted the ribs on the grate a little bit and moved the bowl over. And that's all you gotta do. Get the lid back on. After 1 hour and 35 minutes, the ribs are looking good. And I've had the lid open a little too long here, so the heat is kicking up. But we got a nice bark on these, and it's time to get them off and get them wrapped up. So gently take them off without messing up the bark too much. We'll take the trimmings off as well. And this little chef snack is ready to chew on for me. Yum. Here's a peek of the ribs inside after an hour and a half. You can see we got a nice bark from that rub on the outside of the pork ribs. The actual meat is pulling back a little bit on the bones. So everything is looking really good. Now that we got a good bark on the outside of our ribs with the seasoning, the smoke, and all that tasty meat goodness, it's time to wrap them up in some aluminum foil. This is heavy duty aluminum foil. It's a little bit longer. Most of the times, standard racks of ribs fit right in it. And what you're gonna do, just make a little square. Just add about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water to the bottom. Just until you see it going all the way across the bottom here. So that's good, right on 1/2 cup. And then just slowly start wrapping up your ribs into a tight little package here with 2 layers to be safe that you have no leaks. So the first one, just do kind of loose. You get a second piece here. This is a little loud. It's not too nice for video. Again, so this is the top, this is the loose end. We want the water to stay in the bottom, so keep the bottom on the bottom side down. Fold it over, and then fold it back over to the top. Again with these ends, fold it over and back over to the top. So now we got our ribs in here, a nice tight foil package with 1/2 cup of water. We're gonna place this back on the barbecue. I put some more charcoal back onto the barbecue just to keep the line extending. So you can see the heat will just keep going down the line of charcoal here. 153 here. So get the lid on, let these keep cooking away. Just hit the 3-hour mark on the timer here. Barbecue's sitting at 315 degrees. Let's pop the lid open and take a peek. Really not much to look at here. A couple balls of tin foil. But time to get them off and get these ribs unwrapped. After 3 hours and 31 minutes, it's time to get the sauce on. Today I'm gonna be using Diane's Gourmet Rib and Chicken Sauce. Take a peek at the ribs. You can see, starting to get a nice bark again. The outside's starting to dry up from braising them. It's still nice and tender. Real soft. So now, everything's looking good. We got the ribs pulling back almost an inch. So it's time to get the sauce on. Start by flipping them over. I always like saucing the bottom first. Even that's looking really good. Neighbor likes to cut his lawn every 2 days. Here you go. Give it a nice good coating. Flip it over. Again, get right under it. Make sure you hold them really good or they might fall apart. Just flip it quick and gentle. Get a nice layer on the top. Then we'll come back in for a second one. Once this sets up and gets nice and sticky. A little trick too is to heat your barbecue sauce up before putting it on the ribs so it flows on nice and smooth and won't give you those big thick brush marks. If you ever tried putting on cold barbecue sauce, you usually get a whole bunch of streaks in your ribs. Doesn't really look the best. So these are looking good. Get the trim piece here. Good amount of sauce. Get the lid on. Let these thicken up for about 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, here's a quick peek. Sauce is starting to set up and get nice and thick. And these ribs are starting to look great. Time for another coat of sauce, and they're almost done. For the last coating of sauce, just gonna do the top. Give it a nice even coating. Get that too. And just spread it out. Making sure to get all the sides. You don't want any pools, so just nice and even. All the top, all the sides. And get the trim piece back here. This is looking really good as well. Rip that apart. Fire's getting a little close over here, so just move the ribs over a bit. Oh, these are real soft. Get the lid on, and we'll pull them off in another 10 minutes. Sitting just under 4 hours on the timer. Temp spiked up to 331, but everything is ready to go. Here's a peek. Set the lid down. Check these ribs out. Get nice and close in there. Make sure the light's looking right. Come over here. Take a better peek. Nice caramelized sauce. That rub is looking good. Perfecto. Perfect time to get them off. Got the heat spiking up a little bit with all the coals building up here. Don't want the sauce to burn. The sugars in the sauce will burn if you get too hot. So now is perfect. Get your tongs or spatulas right underneath it as much as you can. Trying to hold it up and slowly take it off. There's a peek at the ribs inside under the light. Hard to see the barbecue sometimes. You get a little ways away and everything looks real dark. Like this. But you get up close in the nice light, you can see it's all nice and red. Little tips of the sauce on the end of the bones. Got a little burnt, but other than that, everything's looking fantastic. Now an easy way to cut up the ribs is by flipping them over. You can see where all the bones are running and exactly where the meat is. Sometimes the bones are curved, so this gives you a good visual, makes it real easy to cut nice ribs without hitting the bones. You can already see pieces of meat on these are starting to fall apart. But these are looking fantastic. Nice and juicy. Just falling off the bone. See if we'll pull on a bone here, what happens? Whole thing just pulls apart. Good stuff. The real test. Now a bite like that, honestly it was delicious, but on a competition side of barbecue things, that wouldn't go over so good. It's overcooked. But people at home like to fall off the bone ribs, and so do I. So that's how you do it in 4 hours to get delicious, smoky, tender, juicy ribs. Well, I'm cutting everything up. Let's take a peek at the trim piece here. See if we'll slice right down the middle. There is some bones in here, but slice right through them. It's the soft ones there. But again, you can see nice meat in here. Whew, it's hot. But just pulls apart. There's a lot of fat in here too as well. So it's not the best, but it is good just to pick through it, rip it apart. I know someone that will love this. Miss T-Dog. You want a piece? T-Dog, you want some? Oh, there's the real test. How is it? Is it good?